Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to No Point Gaming. I am your host as always, Blindstone, and today we're going to take a look at IronGuard. It was released today, October 14th, 2016, and was created by Aegon Games. I probably butchered that name, so I apologize. Aegon Games. This appears to be their first launch on Steam, however it's not their first game. And for once in a blue moon, it is not early access, something that is very rare to see on Steam nowadays. So kudos to them for that. The game describes it as a fast-paced first-person roguelite game with procedurally generated levels, loosely using procedurally as a term here, as during the first playthrough I had saw the same room in multiple locations multiple times, which is kind of sad to see, but anyways. Also contains what they describe as wide array of unique weapons and items. The UI for the menus are very terrible and unintuitive. It breaks my heart a little bit. You can use your mouse and arrow keys for navigation, but not WASD, which is your actual movement keys inside the game. However, when you use your arrow keys, it is hard to control what settings you are trying to adjust. This is because it tries to set focus on which items in the menu is selected before you actually have time to react and stop pressing that key. I wouldn't say unusable, however, very annoying and unrealistic to use properly without very much frustration. With that said, let's look at the settings for IronGuard. Graphics is first up. We have our standard resolution and option to change resolution scale. Full screen option, which I'm going to be honest here, I was a little confused. I don't know if it's a bug on my side, but the setting will not go true full screen and will not lock your mouse to the window at all. It just maximizes my window. This caused a lot of frustration when playing. Nothing worse than trying to be fast in the game and losing focus because your mouse ran off the screen and you'll end up dying as a result. VSync and also has a frame rate cap, which is interesting to see. Field of view and weapon field of view, which you don't normally see these two separated. They usually go under the same option. Texture resolution, also known as texture quality. Shadow resolution, again, the same idea. Anti-aliasing, bloom, and ambient occlusion, what have you not. Pretty standard settings menu for graphics. Next is audio. You got your standard settings. Once again, very, very standard. 3 settings: master sound, sound effects, and music sound. And last is gameplay. We have your look sensitivity, toggle for a head bob and weapon sway. Auto switch, empty weapon, which is nice to have. However, I don't know how much you're actually going to need it depending on the weapon that you get. There is lots of ammo drops that will replenish your weapons, but we'll get into all the nitty gritty here in a minute. Also a HUD scale, which I'm starting to see more in games, which is nice. As well as a HUD offset, which you don't see too often anymore, because most of the times it usually works with the monitor itself. Last is control remapping, which I'm not going to spend too much time in because honestly the menu hurts my face. The background needs to be more hidden so it doesn't look like a cluster of text for one. It doesn't work when it's all clustered together. And it's very, very hard to read and understand things. I mean, yeah, you can look at it and get the concept of it, but it looks sloppy. It looks really sloppy. The whole UI looks sloppy, and I hate to say it. I don't want to rip on any kind of indie developer because they are the ones that are starting to bring back gameplay, unlike AAA titles. This is why I try to focus on indie titles. And I love it when they do well, and I love it when they succeed. But that's it. That's all I have to say on that topic. It does have controller support, which is very, very nice. How well it plays with the controller, I'm not sure, however. So with that out of the way, let's hop into some gameplay, shall we? You start off in an industrial room. There doesn't appear to be any kind of story as to why you're here, though. At least from what I've noticed so far, and I completed the game in actually 25 minutes. You have your base weapon and are given another pickup weapon to fight your way through the different rooms till you reach the boss of the floor you are on. There are 3 floors to progress through, and a boss at the end of each floor. Every room I found so far doesn't appear to have much purpose than to be an arena. Makes immersion for this game really, really, really hard, which I hate to say because it looks so nice in the trailers and very, very fast action and exactly what I've been looking for. but there's no kind of decorations to the floors or any of the rooms even. You get the same room multiple times on a floor. I have noticed. I've gone through the game a few times now and continually saw the same floor repeat itself, same room repeat itself on the same floor multiple times. It makes the immersion very, very hard, and it's hard to get into the rhythm, personally I find anyways. You cannot proceed to the next room without first killing all the enemies in that room until you make it to the boss level, or boss room I guess. Your most common enemy being the turret, which shoots very slow moving missiles in your direction and have a fairly large blast radius upon impact. You also have little floating balls which slowly move towards you and explode, which can be quite dangerous when facing one around the corner or in another circumstance I'll get into here in a minute. That is it for the first floor until the boss. The rooms have 0 enemies in it until you have fully entered the room, at which point they will all spontaneously spawn and start commencing the fight. This is the same for landmines, which are often found in each room. The result is running into the room, and if you continually run after you've entered the room until all the enemies spawn, you could easily take massive damage from a mine that you had no idea was going to be there. Same with the floating orb enemies. With that said, once you do 1 or 2 runs at that floor, you understand where everything is going to be because there ends up being no variation. You get the same X amount of rooms. There's not many of them, which is sad to say. This is a huge problem if they're claiming it to be a roguelite game. On my first run ever, I was able to get to the boss, who had a shield protecting him from damage until you just jumped off the high platform that you first start on into the arena where the boss is residing. At this point, I also suffered my first death because before I could even move once I landed, the laser beamed me. He shot out this massive yellow laser beam and it killed me almost instantly. This, along with other things found in the game, is very gimmicky and obviously wasn't intended, as I have not had that issue since. On my first time on the second floor, there is an enemy that follows you to a T and charges up a laser. I ended up with what I hope is a glitch, but it was able to kill me through the wall. On other runs, I didn't have this issue, however, it did happen and that made me worried. The run where I was able to get to the last floor and finish the boss was mildly hilarious. On the first floor, I obtained a jetpack from a shop, which you can find shops and also just item rooms on each floor. Big issue with enemies is they generally do not aim at you per se. They aim in a general direction, but only on the X and Z axis, so it does not actually take your height into account. The turrets do and the laser beam gun does, that's about it. With slow moving missiles, it was easy enough to avoid and just fly above everything and take everything down with ease, and without the urgency feeling like you get in normal roguelike games. There's just none. You can find shops on the floors which offer different abilities and passives that you can pick up and purchase. They can help you out, including movement speed, damage, and sometimes proc a multi-projectile shot. But in the end, it felt like it was just a thing that was implemented without much thought. Also, perks and points to spend on those perks. 3 perks are chosen randomly and displayed to you to select which one you want to spend your lovely points on. I was able to get life leeching, which helped out a tad, however it was only 1% power. The 5% damage increase was nice though. Really helped. Onto a bit of audio. The music is generally entertaining until you realize it's just a looped 30-ish second clip that repeats again and again on that floor. Each floor has its own song behind it and it gets boring fast. The sound effects sounded very muddy as well, which in a sense fit the aesthetics. I'm saying this not 100%. I mean, it kind of works and kind of doesn't, depending on the floor really. But there could have been much more to it because it has no depth. In the end, to sum it all up, this game has problems and didn't meet my expectations personally. There needs to be more variations of rooms, add a bit more to the rooms that actually make it interesting to be in instead of just the enemies and a couple of pipes. The last floor did get a lot better, but still lackluster. It feels very slow for a fast-paced roguelite, and it doesn't have that difficult curve to it either. The price is also way too high for this, as in Canada the price is $14.99. The States I'm not too sure, because, well, regions are funny that way. But in Canada the price is $14.99. It's not worth $14.99. I'm just gonna say that. This is like a $5 game. I would spend $5 on it very, very happily. It does need a lot of improvements, and I think if they actually take that into account, this game could actually be very, very fun. The trailer looked fun. It made it look a lot faster than I was expecting. Like I said, I was able to complete it within 25 minutes, and it just made me ask myself, why would I want to do this again? I beat it. There was no reward for the end except to see a bunch of stats on your previous plays and what your win ratio is. But it needs work. It really does need work, and it saddens me to say, because I had really high hopes for this, to an extent, like for what it was, but they need the variation. They need to add more to it, because right now it seems like a very early alpha game with the kind of bugs that you happen upon. The UI is absolutely atrocious, and there was multiple times where when I did die, I ended up falling through the world. These are all things that need to be patched up. Where it is going to be in the future, I don't know. If a lot changes in the patch notes and everything, I will be returning to it to see where my point stands. With that all said, this has been Null Point Gaming, and I hope you enjoyed watching another episode of Let's Look At. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit the like button down below. If you enjoy our content and want to see more, check out our channel. And maybe give us a subscribe. It helps us every time. We love seeing you guys. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching.